Let's start with a scenario. What if a sudden attack created a massive power vacuum at the very top of one of the world's most influential and controversial states? While we're talking about a hypothetical here, it forces us to ask a very real question. What happens when Iran's supreme leader is suddenly gone? Because the future of the country, and really the stability of the entire Middle East, hangs on that very question.
For 37 years, think about that, almost 4 decades, one man, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, held the ultimate authority in Iran. He shaped everything: its foreign policy, its nuclear ambitions, its entire internal power structure. His word was quite literally final.
But in the scenario we're exploring, that long rule is now over. In a dramatic escalation of regional conflict, Khamenei has been killed in a joint U.S. and Israeli military strike.
And just like that, you have a monumental crisis on your hands. This is only the second time since the 1979 Islamic Revolution that Iran has to pick a new supreme leader. And honestly, the circumstances could not possibly be more volatile. I mean, the country is being squeezed from every single side. Inside, you have massive protests and widespread discontent. Outside, Iran is in a direct military conflict, and its whole network of regional allies, that axis of resistance, is crumbling. So this isn't just a simple succession, it's a succession happening right in the eye of a perfect storm.
So to manage the immediate chaos, a temporary leadership council has taken over. But let's be clear, this is just a bandage. The real power struggle, the one that's going to define Iran for decades, is happening right now, far from the public eye.
And as the world watches and waits, a very secretive, but very specific, constitutional process for picking the next supreme leader is already underway.
Now, on paper, there's a clear process. That temporary council is in charge while another group, the Guardian Council, vets potential candidates. But the real power, the real decision-making, it all happens in those final 2 steps, when a secretive group called the Assembly of Experts meets and casts the deciding votes.
And this Assembly of Experts, they're the ones you really need to know about. It's a body of 88 clerics, and their single most important job is to choose the supreme leader. They are the ultimate kingmakers in the entire Iranian system.
But here's the thing. That formal constitutional process, it's really only half the story. Behind the scenes, you have these incredibly powerful forces, especially the elite paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. I mean, these guys control huge chunks of the economy and the entire security system. Their quiet approval is seen as absolutely essential for anyone who wants the top job.
So, who is actually in the running for this incredibly powerful position? Well, a few key figures have emerged as the top contenders in what is shaping up to be a very high-stakes political drama.
And you can immediately see the major divide here. You have hardliners who are deeply embedded in the state, like the Chief Justice Mohseni Ejei and even Khamenei's own son. But then you also have relative moderates in the mix, like the former President Hassan Rouhani and the grandson of the revolution's founder.
Okay, so let's start with the man many consider to be the frontrunner, Hossein Mohseni Ejei. This guy is the ultimate insider. He has spent his entire career right at the very heart of Iran's power structure.
I mean, his resume is like a tour of the state's most powerful jobs: Chief Justice, Minister of Intelligence, Prosecutor General. His deep connections to both the judicial and the security branches of government make him an incredibly formidable candidate.
Then, in pretty stark contrast, you have Hassan Khamenei. His power doesn't come from a government position. It comes from his last name.
You see, as the grandson of the founder of the Islamic Republic, he carries this immense symbolic weight. Some analysts think his more moderate stance could actually make him a kind of bridge candidate. You know, someone who could maybe ease Iran's international isolation and respond to all that dissatisfaction at home.
So, we have the process and we have the players. But why does this one decision matter so much? Not just for the 90 million people in Iran, but for the rest of the world. Well, the choice is between 2 completely different futures for Iran. A hardliner would probably double down on confrontation, keep the proxy wars going, and push the nuclear program forward. A moderate, on the other hand, might just see an opportunity to de-escalate, maybe find a way to ease those crippling sanctions, and even introduce some limited reforms. And let's be absolutely crystal clear about the power we're talking about here. The supreme leader has the final, unquestionable say on all major state issues. The nuclear program, sending troops to war, the ultimate questions of war and peace, it all comes down to the decision of just one person. All of this brings us to, right now, a moment of profound uncertainty.
You know, the last time this happened in 1989, there was a pretty clear frontrunner. But today, the different factions in Iran are more divided than ever, and the path forward is anything but clear.
And this really shows you just how wide open this whole thing is. The supposed frontrunner, Mohseni Ejai, is at less than a 20% chance according to some prediction markets. And get this, some are even speculating that the position of supreme leader might be abolished entirely and replaced with a council. That's how uncertain this moment really is.
And that's really the key thing to understand here. Unlike in 1989, there's no obvious heir apparent. There's no single person who commands that same level of authority, which means the outcome is going to have to be negotiated. It's not going to be a simple appointment.
As one expert, Professor Amin Saikal, put it, this won't be a simple coronation. There's going to be a great deal of horse trading between Iran's elite factions, and the person who comes out on top might not be the most powerful, but the one who represents the most acceptable compromise to everybody else.
So Iran is at a massive crossroads. The decision that's made in the coming days is going to set the country's course for a generation. The real question is, will that be a path of more confrontation, or will they be forced to choose something entirely new?